We're getting an Olympic Games.
Tokyo.
And the countdown is on.
Quarantine in Tokyo.
Big moment this.
I'm excited.
To win gold.
The Olympic Games, how exciting.
2 rounds of short jumping.
Tokyo.
Top class eventing, the team of 3.
Big day.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
Tokyo specials.
It is spectacular.
Tokyo.
Tokyo.
Tokyo. And Olympic broadcast, we have a uniform. And it's from Helly Hansen as well. It's really smart.
Tell me about it, firstly.
So the one from Rio was all, nicely done for the temperature and stuff. We've seen some pictures of what we're getting. It's a little bit jade green. It's not quite in my palette. This is a crazy, crazy opportunity for our sport.
Welcome to the Eventing Podcast, and it's your host for the day, Diarm Byrne.
That's not how you say it, is it? Diarmid.
I know. I've been mixing it up recently. I've been throwing in the full name every so often. Okay, you can hear my guest already. It is something that we've done for the last couple of championships, John, and sometimes the odd 5-star, but the night before you leave, we've had a last-minute update, a last-minute check-in as you pack your bags.
Yeah. I was thinking I was sitting downstairs merrily waiting for the phone to ring, and then you sent me some exciting internet link. I mean, God be with the day when we used to just do this, on yogurt pots and string, D.
I know. It's all very high-tech and advanced. You are... Okay, let's give everybody context. What is your official title for the next 25 days?
So I fly to Tokyo in the morning, and I am the English voice for the world feed of the Equestrian Events from the Olympics.
Oh, hang on. That's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. The greatest thing for me is I get a uniform. It's if you're at the Olympic Games and you don't have a team uniform, you're nobody. And Olympic broadcast, we have a uniform. And it's from Helly Hansen as well. It's really smart.
Tell me about it, firstly.
So the one from Rio was all, nicely done for the temperature and stuff. We've seen some pictures of what we're getting. It's a little bit jade green. It's not quite in my palette for Tokyo. But we have a baseball hat that has like a skirt around the back, like the French Foreign Legion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Spares? Any spares? Any for sale? Could you lose one?
Absolutely not. I'm horrified that I appear to have thrown out one of the pairs of Rio trousers when I went to get my entire Rio uniform, put it in, because I was going, I might not be allowed to wear it, but it's made for warm weather and nobody will be looking at me, so I'm having this stuff as well. And then I was like, where's the trousers? So that's annoying.
Yeah, okay, these are kind of pretty special collector's kits. Like you were happy to share with us the Kentucky 2021 hats, but we're at a different level now. That'd be fair.
Yeah, there's something.
I'm not giving these away as prizes.
No. There's something about stuff with the Olympic rings on, and all this has it, which is very, very special. When you've grown up in a family like mine in particular, and I'm sure. Sam, as much as he is horizontal, must be just off the hook. And the first time he gets there and sees those Olympic rings on something official in the country where he's going to ride, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I think I've spoken to him a couple of times now on the podcast and a couple of times off the podcast. And I think it's not just his personality, it's probably the environment that they're in. You can imagine it, all of them there in Aachen. They've done this 1,000 times in Aachen. A lot of them, they're all sorted together, sort of apart. I don't think anything really feels like the Olympics for them yet, rather than for him. I think you're right. I think there is a moment that is going to hit all of them in a way that maybe it's not going to change a whole lot for us at home. Maybe seeing the ceremonies and different things will change it for us, but I think we're all excited already with the prospect of everything that can happen. I think there is a moment to come for lots of the riders.
Yeah, I think the Olympics is just really strange because, I was thinking about it the other day. I mean, Laura Collett's just been on the BBC News here yesterday. We're going to be telling the story of Laura's fall again. Like, it's 8 years ago, and we're going to be telling that story. We're going to be telling that Jessica Springsteen is Bruce Springsteen's daughter. It's things that we all know, but this is a crazy, crazy opportunity for our sport. And actually, I think even for guys at home, you can't help but get swept up in the Olympics. And so you'll be watching, like, a Budokan in judo in the morning and then flicking over to some dressage in the afternoon. And then suddenly you'll go, yes, because there's those guys like Sam is there with, Usain Bolt or whoever.
Yeah.
Like, it is crazy. And it's a huge, huge thing for our sport to be part of it.
It's a funny thing, isn't it? Because we're so close to the sport, and so you're so involved in it that actually you kind of feel proud of the sport, like of all of the individuals. Obviously, I have it with Sam, kind of closest to me, that like he's in our WhatsApp groups. Someone just kind of said it the other day on one of our WhatsApp groups. So like Sam sent me a video from wherever he was, like somewhere in Aachen, raining, and he sent me back a video, and I forwarded it into one of the WhatsApp groups with kind of 4 or 5 of the lads, non-eventing, non-equestrian lads.
Yeah.
And like someone just wrote back, the actual Olympics, and like that's actually kind of captures it, doesn't it? When you think like they're actually at the Olympics. And I suppose you can almost be too close sometimes in that you can't actually see the size of it when it's just our little old Sam and we're talking about.
I mean, I think it's the worst thing we can do is to just like try and be blasé about it. Like it's incredible.
Yeah. Okay, back to you. Firstly, talk to me about that exact same thing, just in that context. It's the night before you leave. Pippa the same, but the two of you are going over to be the voices of the sport from live on the ground and to represent the sport to a global audience.
Yeah, so I think the first thing is the challenge. Judy Harvey, who I think a lot of people might know as having been the dressage analyst on BBC a good few times, Judy said, whatever the challenge, you're going to the Olympic Games. And I said, I couldn't agree more. Pippa, I think, has actually had the first test that anyone has administered to her because she hasn't really traveled. So she's had her brain scraped. PCR. She's actually out at 1 at the moment. She goes on Sunday. We are not on the same flight. We're not traveling out or back the same days, and we're not in the same hotel. So I'll see her at Equestrian venue. Hello. And it's our wedding anniversary on, I think, Monday. So that's, good.
I was thinking it was around this time of year, but I mean, we've heard that wedding story multiple times.
Yeah, so we're going through the tests. We've got a lot of apps we have to fill out, make sure that we're going to get in at the other end. The nice thing is now we're starting to hear stories of when you get to the airport, they are trying to get you in, not trying to kick you out.
Okay.
So we feel like, we have some paperwork. It's supposed to be the right paperwork. We're all good. We are a little bit unclear on what's happening for the first 3 days. I think I'm allowed to go to work because I've been made take an extra test and I'm working directly for the Olympics. Pippa may have to sit in her hotel room for 3 days, perhaps almost certainly will. She doesn't know what level of food comes with that.
Very little from what if Aachen is anything to go by, although you'd be hoping it's not.
So she is, we're both doing a little bit of Dame Maggie Smith and Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. There's a good few digestive biscuits in the suitcase.
That's how myself and Sam began in Lausanne. The first time we went to Lausanne, John, we were absolutely appalled at what the little amount we could afford to buy. We were going into the FEI meetings, like trying to present ourselves best possible way. And then we'd come out and like a bottle of sparkling water was €15. So the second time we went, we literally packed no clothes and just, whatever, non-perishable goods, a suitcase for eating.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of requests for mascots to come home in lieu of the space being taken up by my crunching up cornflakes on the way out. So it's weird to know what you're going to need. We're not going to be allowed out very much. I have my hotel, the venue, the broadcast centre, and the buses between. That's kind of the limit of our world.
Okay, you've done it before. Kentucky was very different atmosphere to anything we'd seen before. We'd lots of check-ins with you at Kentucky, and look, we'll try our best. I know it's going to be a different challenge. We'll try our best to get some check-ins with you when you're over there. But I don't think, we've had some updates from the venue already, but it's going to be really hard just for us to get our heads around it until we begin to get more pictures and, more people on the ground who will be getting to report back what it feels like. I can't really, it's hard to imagine, even though we know sort of what an empty equestrian venue feels like.
Yeah, I think the emptiness is going to be tough. I think the other really interesting thing is we could go to bed after dressage and be opening up the broadcast then for cross country, or certainly opening up the broadcast for show jumping day with an entirely different leaderboard, because suddenly people have done swaps in and swaps out and stuff. And there's a whole dynamic of the competition that is going to happen off the playing field.
I personally don't think the swaps are going to be, I think they're really nice to tell the story internally, and even potentially as a little bit of a hook to a new audience to be able to say that this is a possibility. But I think given the cost of them, I don't think they're it's not like that. Like
I think it's the same as the eventing manager. I don't think you would deliberately swap.
Yeah, it's not like a football substitution where you could just bring someone on for the last 15 minutes because you're losing 1-0 and you put the big man up front and you start, you're not going to change your tactics massively based on this. Like, I think if you got a brilliant show jumper, it's not like a free pass to bring them in, which would be fun. Do you know what I mean? If you were taking out your worst show jumper and you brought in your best cross country horse, and then you brought in your best show jumper for the last two, like that bit I could get on board with. But if it's going to cost you 20 penalties to actually sub them in, you're probably, you're not really doing it. And if you bring them in because of an elimination, it's probably not really relevant to the leaderboard. So I don't see the swaps being a big a deal, but like I was actually chatting to H&H earlier in the day today around the prediction center and around what it all means. And a bit that I think is fascinating is put yourself into your position on Friday evening, or well, let's think time zone. So I guess it's Saturday.
So do you mean the Friday of a normal horse trials?
I do. I mean on the end of dressage phase. The end of the dressage phase.
I mean, my experience at most Olympics is that we just do away with days of the week and we just start calling Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's like, so it's Sunday at eventing. I mean, it might be Wednesday in Japan, but it's Sunday because we're show jumping.
I remember that in Tryon where they moved us all by a day, and actually it really true. It's where we had show jumping we had cross country on a Sunday. Was it show jumping on a Monday? But
that's because you're only a whippersnapper. Punchestown always used to end on a Monday back in the day.
Oh God, yeah, but pre-2010, as you know, John, is not a but what I'm thinking is like I was trying to we're making a kind of a story around the prediction center. And we were saying, okay, well, like you can make it as complex as SAP predictive analytics, and you can talk about the technology which drives this kind of stuff, or you can make it pretty simple and you can say past performance tends to dictate future performance. And if you look at like the Brits' past performance, don't be surprised that Laura Collett and the whole story that goes with Laura Collett. Story number 1, will she be the first woman to win the Olympics in our sport? Story number 2, the fall. Story number 3, like she can only see with one eye. Story number 4, like she's won everything, and she's arrived here with Mr. Bass and the emotional side. Like there is so much that will go with this. But I wouldn't be caught by surprise that she potentially needs to dressage on Friday night, because the horse is doing 20 and 21 and 22, and
we're London 52, aren't we? By the way.
We're London 52. Sorry,
yeah. I know you love Chuck, but
did I say Mr. Bass? Sorry. Yeah, of course, London 52. So, Fisher Chipmunk, there'll be another story there around the 3 times and the retention, and probably the greatest rider of potentially ever, I suppose. You can make those arguments, but you've got a story that's going to happen around either Laura or Michael, probably. And then you've got another story where you've probably got 3 Brits in the top 5, you would think, after the first phase, and they're probably 8 or 9 marks ahead of the Germans. And I think that bit I can get on board with, as I'm pretty sure how those stories are going to play out, and the excitement and the storytelling is going to play out. But this is the bit where I think it changes. And it's actually not for me about the subs. It's just the 3 from 3. I just think we probably don't even need to tell to a new audience the fact that it used to be 3 from 4, because they don't care. It's just tell me what it is now. So it's any mistake counts. So like the best horses in the world have runouts. All this, but this is the piece I'm telling everyone.
But wait, being careful. 4.4 time penalties, 11 seconds over. Like, that's straight onto your team score.
Yeah, and the last time, if you think the last time we saw this course designer at a 4-star short, you witnessed it. You witnessed it live. But Derek, a 4-star short at Kentucky, we'd one of the lowest ever jumping clear rates in a 4-star short, not just in a 4-star short at Kentucky. Now,
yeah, no, and a little bit of a perfect storm of literal perfect storm, but also people, I think, not really knowing what they'd signed themselves up to.
100%. And there's so many of these variables, but also time, like time there, time here. There's enough variables here, like people from all over the world. But my point here, I suppose, John, is that the story for me is that I'm pretty sure what happens on day 1 and day 2, but nobody in the sport, including all of the great minds, including all of the predictive analysis, nobody in the sport can tell me that there's a horse in the world that can't have a 20. And actually, once you go out there, you can be 8 marks ahead. But if London or Ballamore Class or Viamont du Mats or Fisher Chipmunk, if they have a 20 penalties, suddenly the Japanese team might be getting back in. The Irish team might be getting back in. The French have been very quiet, but we know that they do this regularly. The Kiwis are there with the prices. The Aussies have an incredible team, even despite the bitter disappointment of the Chris Burton news. I think I can get on board with day 1 and day 2, but I really genuinely believe that cross-country day is going to set us up for one of the most exciting days of sport that we've seen in the sport. I think the last phase looks after itself. I think if the Brits
I think it's going to be really interesting because Santiago Varela, who is the jumping designer and therefore will look after our third day courses, he designs long tracks. It's going to be about stamina. And he designs very, very cleverly in terms of distances and stuff. So I think, again, our best jumpers will be rewarded and our weaker jumpers could find themselves in a lot of trouble. I think you're absolutely right. And I think, Jimmy Wofford was saying before Kentucky, I think we've got an advantage this year over the Europeans because they haven't had the preparation. And I was like, we normally only ever do 2 open intermediates and then come and win the 5-star at Kentucky. So sorry, Jimmy, we've done it again. But it is difficult to know exactly what people have done. Like you say, the French, they never seem to, do very much. And then they quite often take medals at Olympic Games. Have the Germans had everything they would normally have? They've certainly had a Marbach. They've had the DM at Le Moulin. But I also think that there's a chink in their armor without Ingrid, for sure. I mean, Julia and Sandra, both excellent. But, are they quite there to take it to a team where even the reserve is a 5-star winner in Great Britain?
Well, I think if you're just going on horsepower and on form, the Brits are rightly ahead. You can't argue with not just the 3 they have, but I mean, the 3 to 4 to 5 that they leave behind is actually good enough to make up the next best team. And probably the 3 behind that would still, if you had 9 Brits there, they'd probably all be favourites. The fact that the Prediction Centre currently has them, I think, was it 1, 2, and 4, with only Michael in there, or maybe 2, 3, and 4, or 2, 3, and 5, something like that. Look, there's no doubt for me that on everything that we know, whether we see the French or whether we don't, we know that like London 52 is probably slightly ahead of Bermain and a few more versions of that. That's okay. But my thing is just that London 52 can have a 20 penalties and so can Ballamore Class. And that's nothing to do with anything about Laura or anything about Oliver. It's just the sport.
Yeah. Mickey is 9 points clear of anyone else in the Prediction Centre on the way to, an unprecedented third gold. But, how often has he led the dressage? He's left the door open and, how much does he leave the door open and can he walk through it and close it again?
There's a few of these, and then these are kind of the format bit. Now, if we imagine the format bit as being just an added exciting variable, the one that I think we're not really talking about is if you go to the fact that, let's say, London or Chipmunk are probably the 2 that I would be targeting at the moment as your dressage leaders. Let's say the only other time that we saw this type of championship, like say global championship, Wagger and Olympics, the last one was Tryon, really, at this level. Would that be fair in this kind of one down from the old 5-star of Rio. So it's this kind of Olympic level cross country now. Tryon was the first time that we saw massive jumping clear rates at a World Games. So up until that point, I don't think we'd ever had anything above 50%.
Yeah.
And then we went to Tryon. Now I know it could have easily gone the other way based on the weather and based on the day in which the cross country was going to take place and based on. But as it turned out, we ended up with like 60, 70% clear and like 20 odd people making the time. If that happens, London 52 and the Brits, you might not get past them again. You know, they've secured their place there in the kind of very influential first phase. But that's can't be out of the question either. They're incredibly good at dressage and they're incredibly good at show jumping. If we don't see a test, I think they win this potentially doing handstands. If we don't see a cross-country test.
I also wonder, going back to the 3 in a team, how much, there's mind games on the third person, how much pressure will suddenly be on them in any test. I think the dressage test is, we've had blink and you miss it at the 5-star level the last couple of years. The Olympic test is even shorter. And therefore, if something goes wrong for you and you do not sit up and ride the next mark for a 15, let alone a 10, you could suddenly find yourself out the door because you've got no chance to get back into the swing of it and, maybe just try and garner a few marks back up. I think it's, the presentation of the horses, the test riding is going to be critical to ensure that you're ready for something to go slightly wrong. It is going to be phenomenally warm and humid. It's been raining most days there for about the last 3 months. So I think it's basically going to be like riding around in a swimming pool.
I'm not going to ask you for your winner or even your podium because you are going to do that on the Podium Picks show, which is coming out very soon. Okay, so JK, you're leaving tomorrow. How's your flight looking? Is it a general okay journey?
Via Amsterdam with KLM. My partner in crime, you don't know this, is Lucinda Green.
I actually did know that, but it is top secret. It'll be great. That'll be quite a partnership.
And she is also not on the same plane as me, in case
royalty.
No, but actually, because we work together without masks, we're like one of the few people who can work without masks in close proximity to each other. So essentially, if one of us goes down, both of us go down. So as soon as we see each other, we can hug because it's all over.
That's nice. That is nice. That'll be quite good. You'll have lots of talk about there'll be no counting strides. You won't be allowed to do any of that stuff. You've got to talk about the old school riding and the brave cross country riding.
And that's just the dressage.
And that's just the dressage. That'll be great. So you're not flying together, but you're actually probably going to see more of her than Pippa. I expect quite a lot more.
Yeah.
When you start in work, so you're doing dressage anyway before all the evening, right?
So we get there on the 17th. We go to the broadcast centre on the 18th for the start of briefings and get our kit and things. We go out to the venue for an equipment test on next Thursday. And then next Saturday is the first day of dressage, the morning after it's actually the afternoon after the opening ceremony. It's mad.
JK, it's been a pleasure. I think it's, we're very lucky to be able to talk to you, and we will, as the Eventing podcast crew, very happily accept the crumbs from the Olympic table. So while we're unlikely to get the live going on air broadcast that we were able to get from Kentucky, do join us on the odd Instagram live. Let us know how you're getting on. We'll all be cheering you on, not just because of the sport, but actually we're very proud of you going over there to represent all of us as a sport. It's a cool position to be in, but we're thankful that you're doing it.
RTE player, if you're in Ireland, I think you'll get me if you watch the lives. NBC player in America, same dig. Basically, if your broadcaster has a live player where you can tune in and watch it not on the telly, you're probably going to get me and Lucinda.
Nice one. Okay, good luck. Mind yourself. Safe journey, and we'll talk to you on this side.
Yeah, cool. I'll let you know how it goes.
Thanks, JK.
Cheers, Steve.
Thank you for listening to the Equestrian Eventing podcast.
Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I look forward to having you back with us soon.
Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more.
Listeners, we'll speak to you again soon.